Celebrity Court of Public Opinion.
And I'm Al Reynolds, your host and judge.
Each show, there are 4 celebrity cases, 3 real attorneys, 1 verdict, guilty or not guilty. This is Celebrity Court of Public Opinion.
A-listers, get in here. Tonight's episode is Drew is evicted, Stormy is audited, Yee gets a punch suit, and King is caught on the body cam. All right, everybody, tonight, 4 celebrities, 4 legal messes, and 1 question that matters more than the headlines. When does bad behavior become the law? Now, True Sidora gets humbled in family court. Boy, did the judge check her. Coach Stormy gets hit with a public audit of her business claims, which we are finding out is all lies, allegedly. Kanye West gets sued over an alleged violent incident that now comes with podcast smoke. And last but not least, was he dressed like Pokemon or whatever man he was? King Harris King Harris learns what a lot of people learn too late. Bodycam does not care about your attitude or how famous your dad is. Don't forget, this is not criminal court. This is not cable news, and this is definitely not a PR firm. Everybody, this is Celebrity Court of Public Opinion, where I'm going to bring the mess starting today. My attorneys will bring the law, and you, the jury, guess what? You decide who's embarrassed themselves the most. That's right. You heard me. We're changing up the show a little bit. I'm Judge Al Reynolds, and tonight, the docket is what I call absolutely disrespectful, and I'm loving it. All right, before we get started or before we get into tonight's chaos, please do me a favor. Can you hit that like button? Also, do you mind hitting that subscribe button? If you're already subscribed, can you please hit that share button? Don't forget to turn on your notifications. And as always, we love it when you jump down in those comments. And if you're watching live, type where you're watching from and give me your very first gut reaction just on what you see in the show is about who's guilty or who's not guilty. Now, don't think too hard. I want your first instinct. Then we're going to see your gut, if your gut can survive it or not when we get down to the verdict. Also, last but not least, I got one more question or one more favor I need from you. Can you go follow our brand new Instagram page right now? It's at Celebrity Court of Public Opinion. That's the new Instagram page. It's at Celebrity Court of Public Opinion. All right, now remember, that's where the jury keeps talking after the show ends. So that is made specifically for you and your engagements. It's also where we'll post updates. We'll show some fresh cases and all the legal mess that's going on in real time. So follow it, tag it, screenshot it, and send it to all your messy family members, because that's who we want in our jury box coming forward. Okay, because our court might adjourn here, but the public opinion, as you know, never sleeps. All right, tonight's charges are as follows. Drew Sedor, welcome to Celebrity Court. A judge recently said, vacate the house, lady, get your shit and get out, and gave Ralph Pittman interim school year custody. Wow, women usually always get the custody. Translation, family court said, enough of the confusion, and this is not reality TV, baby. This is real life. Case number 2, Coach Stormy, after resurfaced interview clips and claims that nearly 80% of clients made $0, the internet is now running a full-blown credibility audit. They want to know, where is the money you promised, and why are we not rich yet? All right, our third case is Kanye West. A John Doe lawsuit says Yee allegedly punched a man at Chateau Marmont, one of my favorite hotels in LA, kept hitting him, and then made public accusations that allegedly damaged the man's name. Can't wait to break that down. And the fourth case is King Harris speeding by, gun in the car, refusal to exit, lawyer call, daddy showing up, obstruction arrest, body cam roll, and T.I. trying to save that little boy from going to jail. So tonight, it's about control. Who lost it? Who abused it? And who thought fame could protect them from consequences? Court is now what? In session. All right, really quickly, legal note before we get started. Allegations are not convictions, and every person discussed tonight is presumed innocent in a court of law. But in this courtroom, we discuss optics, behavior, exposure, and whether the facts look ugly enough for the public to convict. And joining me tonight, I have my legal beagles joining me: Sean Carter, Chateau Turner, and Jason Weiss. Welcome to Celebrity Court.
Thank you, Your Honor. Happy to be here.
Right, we're running off of 2 different scripts, everybody. So let me see. I forgot. We got a new script. Let's see who's in our chat right here. Linnell Seiler, always that winner there. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Brian and Simone Adams, good evening from Miami. What's the weather like down there? Max Law, 4081. Welcome back to Celebrity Court. Sandra McGee, welcome back. Nisha Phillips, thank you so much. And thank you for the Instagram love. I really appreciate it. Brenda K, all right, baby. Wouldn't be the same without you. Tisha Tara, is that Tisha Tara 84? Come on in here. It looks new, but we like having you. Editor, always good to see your name. Charlene Lambert, you know I love seeing that name when I sign on. SL Warrior, come on in here. Thank you for joining us. At JP Mills, thank you for joining us. Pisces Unicorn, the show wouldn't be the same without you. Sharonia K, this is me. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Colette Davis, our real estate guru. Come on in here, Colette. Delaria Washington, thank you so much. Dominic Starr, all right, thank you. I almost was wondering where was that emoji. Leandria 7140, come on in here. Caramel 1977, that's my girl. What would I do without you? Thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you so much for starting the night off right. Oh, he said Pokemon. So that was a Pokemon. Caramel said that was a Pokemon outfit. Got it. All right. Sharonia K says she's come Florida way of Jamaica. Regina Christian. All right. That's one of my college colleagues. Regina, thank you so much. We missed you at Black Alumni Weekend this past weekend. She's watching from Hampton, Virginia. All right, who else we got in here? Karen Taylor, thank you so much. Brooklyn is in the house. Savannah, Georgia is in the house. Glammy Brown, come on in here. Deliria Washington, Regina King, Shatan, Leandria, we'll take it. Come on. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the super chat. Regina says, I could not believe Drew lost the host for now.
House.
Lost the house. I guess you meant house for now. I know, that's crazy. Stormy screaming is low vibrations. Little Pokemon. All right. Janine Gardner, good evening. Come on in here. Everybody come on in. Everybody, please come on in. All right. Let me see if I can get this right, because you know the script has got a mind of its own. All right. So the first case is supposed to be Kanye West. So you guys got to hold on for 1 second. I got to find the case. All right. First case. All right, our first case is Kanye West at Chateau Marmont, where he's just swinging and punching at people for no reason. Now, this is the kind of story that sounds like celebrity chaos until you recognize the legal exposure is not small. Now, listen, guys, a man is fallen as John Doe because he doesn't want his life to be jeopardized, because he alleges Kanye West punched him in the face at the Hotel Chateau Marmont in Los Angeles, knocking him down and causing him to hit his head and lose consciousness. Now, the lawsuit further claims that he allegedly continued hitting him while he was on the ground. Now, if that wasn't enough, the plaintiff also says Kanye publicly accused him of doing something inappropriate towards a woman in Kanye's group, who we think is his present wife. Now, allegation the man says was false, and then allegedly repeated those claims on a widely viewed podcast. So now this is not just about an alleged physical altercation. This is about violence. This is about humiliation, reputation, and whether one ugly moment allegedly turned into a full public narrative campaign. All right, this is where the legal hinge becomes a threefold. Battery is intentional harm or offensive contact. Emotional distress is number 2. Claims are harder, but they get added when the alleged conduct is extreme. And defamation depends on whether the person says something publicly that was false and damaged someone's life. All right, let's go to our legal beagle, Sean Carter. Let's start with you first. Give me the background on this. But as you give me the background, answer the question. In a civil battery case like this, what evidence matters most? Surveillance, witnesses, medical records, or all of it together?
All of it together. Normally, in a case like this, it'd be he said, ye said, right? One person says you hit me, and the other person says you didn't. The problem Kanye has is this interview that he did on the download. I think we have that. Let's cue that up here.
Okay. You know, this guy just grabbed my wife
And then I didn't see it directly, and she started just explaining to me what happened. So then I walked over and found him, and then I'm talking to security, different security, like not just the security that'd be with me, but other security, like, okay, let's get this guy just escorted out or something. It's like, look, man, I just don't want to. And I talked to the guy. I said, yo, I need you just need to leave right now. He's like, oh, it's okay. It's like, no, it's not okay. It wasn't okay. Then he saw it wasn't okay. He had to go to bed early, tuck this nigga in.
Right. So you see Kanye's story there, right? I would talk to the guy after he had touched my wife, and I had to knock him out. Now, here's the thing is, we don't know if the guy touched his wife or not. Kanye didn't know that either because he heard that from his wife, Celeste. And I don't know if I believe anything she had to say because I didn't know she was allowed to talk. All right, but apparently she's allowed to talk to him, and therefore she told him this. But here's a problem Kanye has. Even if everything she said is true, you don't get to go hit somebody after they done grabbed your woman. And I don't even know how he grabbed her because he couldn't have grabbed her ass because she don't have none of that. But whatever he grabbed, all right, you can't go hit someone after they had done it. Now, if he was still assaulting her, you can go pull the guy off, and when you pull him off, you don't have to be careful about it. So if you give him an extra elbow or whatever, that's fine. But once it's already over, then it's not defense anymore. That's not self-defense anymore. That's self-revenge. And we don't do revenge. So Kanye, at the very least, is guilty of assaulting this guy. And here's the weird thing is, this happened 2 years ago, almost 2 years to the date. And so the guy tried to originally go through mediation. Said, Kanye, you know you did it. You've been on TV telling people you did it. Let's just go ahead and give me my check. And Kanye like, no, I don't have to give you no check, right? And so now it's going to go to court. And the guy was really trying to avoid court because he didn't want his name to be known. And I want the other attorneys to weigh in on this because I'm not sure about this. He filed a suit under John Doe versus Kanye West. So when you claim defamation, that Kanye said that I'm running around here like President Trump, right, just grabbing people, right, by the you know what, you defame me. But he really didn't defame him because nobody even to this day knows his name.
Got you. This is true. All right, let's go to you, Attorney Weiss. Break down the John Doe filing, like Attorney Carter said. Why would a plaintiff sue under a pseudonym, and what does the court usually look at before allowing that? Why did they allow that?
So usually it's a synonym and a John Doe when either you don't know the identity of like a defendant. So you'll be like, company A and John Doe's 1 through 50 because you don't know who those are. And it's also going to be allowed when it's a minor or somebody who doesn't want their name in the press. But usually the court is going to have to weigh the factors of, being able to know who your accuser is so you can defend yourself and keeping the identity of that accuser. Now, one of the things that Attorney Carter said having to do with the self-defense, look, if Kanye was going to say that he had fear that this guy was going to strike his wife again, then he may have been allowed to use that force. Now, Kanye didn't say that. He would have been smart saying, He touched her once. I thought he was going to keep touching her, and that's why I had to go make sure that I put him to bed so that he didn't touch my wife again. So that's something I would have told Kanye he had to say. But again, this John Doe, I think the defamation count is going to be thrown out, or he's going to have the opportunity where he's going to have to put his name in and he's going to have to show that he actually suffered. Because right now, we don't know who he is. No defamation. No harm. Guy's going about his life, and good luck, Kanye.
Okay, Attorney Turner, let me ask you this: if public accusations were alleged repeatedly later on a podcast, let's go to that part. So, if it was repeated over and over again, especially on this pretty significant podcast, where is the legal line between an opinion and actionable defamation? I know you've talked about this or tried to teach the algorithms before, but can you tell us, because honestly, I'm getting confused. Like, when can you talk about a story that is something you experienced or you went through, but now you have to be worried about being sued for defamation? Can you talk to us a little bit about that and what this role that podcast conversation is having in this lawsuit?
I can. And I have this odd coincidence, a little bit of tea. So the irony is that the podcaster that Kanye was talking to, no lie, he's a father at the school where my boys go. And so I was like, oh, they said he had a podcast. They said he knew Kanye. We all thought he was lying, but there's on the podcast with Kanye. I'm not going to say his name, but it's crazy. His kids live here and he's in LA back and forth. Anyway, here's the thing for the A-listers. This is America, and you can get sued for anything. So the best thing that you can do is avoid a lawsuit if possible. But because of the elements of defamation, someone has to sue you and say that you said something false, and then it has to be borne out, right? It's not like I think, oh, wow, they said it was false and I can't prove it. Therefore, I'm precluded from suing for defamation. You know, we have the false statement, we have the publicity, but in order to show it's a false statement, you have to sue that it's a false statement, and then that has to be determined. So when you're asking, like, how many times do they have to say it, or when is it an opinion, or when is it not an opinion, and how can I insulate me from suit? Once you start speaking publicly and publicizing something, then you need to understand and know that it's true so that you can win in a lawsuit. But once you start talking about it, somebody can sue you for defamation, and then it becomes a matter to be borne out in court. But yeah, so I can't really tell you, like for fight, right? Like, I know that you're a pretty boy. You've been a pretty boy since way back. You're not one for fighting, right? But you know, but Sean Carter, you know, he's a little scrappy, right? So Jason, you know,
I was a pretty boy.
You still are a pretty boy.
Al's officially pretty. Yeah.
Fair enough.
He's still looking for a diamond in the sky. But anyway, if Sean's scrappy, right? So he gets into a fight at a club. And he starts going all over the internet telling people about this fight. Whoever he was fighting with, if they disagree, they could sue him for defamation, alleging it was a false statement, and then it would have to get proven.
That's so interesting to me because, you know, you see all the time on Instagram and on Facebook, these people filming the fight. I mean, obviously, they don't have the money to then go sue the person, but the lesson that I'm learning here is that there is space for them to do that if they knew how to do it then, right? Especially if they go all over Facebook and talk about the person disparagingly. Is that what I hear you saying?
Well, yes. And the thing about recording, though, even though recordings are all over the internet, the A-listers need to know the law in the state that they're filming, because some states have total party consent, meaning you have to be a participant in the conversation and you can't have a surreptitious recording. And so if everyone's fighting and the energy's high, you know, are they paying attention to the person in the corner with the phone? Maybe not. So that's one thing people need to know about before they start recording and putting it on the internet. The second thing is, I like to generally tell people to STFU, right? Because if you don't want
STF,
shut the
front door.
Yeah. Don't go around there talking about everything everywhere if you want to avoid suit. That's the safest way to not get sued, is to not talk about it.
Post the video. It speaks for itself, right? There's nothing that's preventing you. You're on a public spot. You did whatever. You filmed it. You post it, and you say, "Check out what I saw." That's it.
Let's go to you, Attorney Carter. What way are you leaning on this? Like, who do you feel is at fault? Like, I feel like Kanye West should know at this right age, especially this is not his first offense, that you can't just be putting your hands on people, period. Like, period. Not only just because of the situation, but because you're also a celebrity who has like 3 or 4 cases already. Like, you're not making any sense at this point. At this point, I think you're clearly looking for attention and heat. And this is the guy is giving it to you.
Well, here's my question, Kanye, is why do you have security if you run around beating up people yourself? All right, the whole purpose of having security is so they can beat up the people and you can keep your hands for free, all right, to make music. Are you supposed to be playing the piano or something? You can't be hitting people in the face. 1, and 2, here's the thing with Kanye, and we got to be clear here. If he had gone online and said, hey, this creepy guy was there, that's one thing. You can assume people are creeps. People do it about me all the time. But what you can't do is say specifically what they did. You see what I'm saying? And so if that turns out to be untrue, then you have lying, you have defamation. If you just said, hey, and we do it all the time. We're going to talk about all the people later. King is crazy. All right. I have no problem saying that. You know why? I'm not saying I saw his medical records. I'm not saying I've done a psychological test. I'm just saying, from my opinion, he looked a little crazy to me. All right. And it probably has something to do with being so light skinned, but we'll get to that. All right. But the point is, and so you
hold on now. Don't do too much. Don't do too much. Let me go to these comments before I have to lay him out. Regina Christian said, yeah, Ye is a Gemini and also suffers from mental illness. Can he use that as a defense? That's a good question. Can he use that as a defense?
Possibly. I mean, I would go to the coffers to get all defenses for Yeezy. But what I was going to say to Attorney Carter and for all of you men, y'all know why he was fighting. Because he was trying to impress his lady and he was trying to get some. That's why he didn't let the security guard fight his battles. But then he probably beat the dude up and said he was beating him when he was down. And then he faded to black behind a security guard like, don't hit me. So this was all about trying to impress his girls, the same as if he was in 4th grade.
He's trying to impress their wife. To get some. I got some last night. I don't have $400 million. I don't have 400,000, and I got a little something. All right, you can get some without having to fight somebody. I ain't fighting nobody for no tussie cat. All right.
You know what? I don't know if he's trying to impress that wife. I think he's trying to suppress that wife or something. You know.
All right. Well, we're going to move to a new segment of the show. It's called Contempt of Court. My contempt of court in this case goes to any strategy, alleged or real, that mixes fists with microphones. I just don't like it, and especially not if you are a celebrity at his status and you have previous lawsuits around bidding people up. Because if you allegedly put your hands on somebody, right, and then you put a public story on their name, I think he deserves all the heat that he gets. I really do. I think he deserves all the heat we get. All right, A-listers, why don't y'all jump down in the chat real quick and tell me, do you think Kanye's guilty or not guilty? Jump down in the chat real quick. Is Kanye guilty or not guilty, or is this lawsuit given opportunistic energy? If it wasn't him getting in a fight all the time, I would think someone's trying to do a money grab. But this one, I think there's a messier lesson here for him, and he needs to learn to keep his hands to himself. What do you say, Chad? Everybody jump down in the chat and tell me if you think he's guilty or not guilty. All right, Editor.
I think if it wasn't Kanye, it would be a different story.
Right, true. All right. From a hotel lawsuit and a celebrity defendant to a traffic stop where the body cam may be doing more talking than anybody in the car. Yep, you know it. Our next case is really funny to me, and it's also just a borderline weird and different. Let's just say that. Next up, we're going to talk about King Harris. You all know King Harris. He's the son of T.I. with that banger new song that he got out. Well, guess what? Body cam footage shows an officer saying King was driving 75 miles per hour in a 40 lane. Now, in a 40 miles per hour zone. Now, the officer says he saw a firearm in the vehicle, and because of that, he asked King to step out. Now, this is the funny part. King refused multiple times. He called his lawyer. He said he didn't feel safe. The officer said he had to exit and reference a Supreme Court law, which all of our lawyers were quite impressed with. Eventually, after the lawyer called back, King got out. But by then, the officer said he was under arrest. Then came the line. So this makes y'all feel tough. Police later used his phone to call someone to retrieve the car and firearm. King kept telling them to hang up, and lock the phone. Then T.I. arrived and asked if there was another way to handle this. I don't understand that type of behavior. Why? Your son clearly is in the wrong. Why are you sitting here trying to get him out? I don't care whose son he is. He needs to follow the law like everybody else. And if you're speeding 75 and a 40 and you got a gun and you got on a Pokemon, no, something ain't right, and we need to get to the bottom of this. All right, Sean Carter. First, let's throw to the bailiff. Bailiff, show me what happened with this man.
Down is to 60. Yeah, I am doing 61 and a 45, and I am not gaining on it. He's also all over the road. Jesus. Hi, good evening. My name is Officer Lopez of the Gwinnett County Police Department. The reason I'm pulling you over is because you're doing over 70 miles an hour in a 45.
I didn't know.
You didn't know?
No.
I got you. Get your driver's license on you? All right. Are you the registered owner of the vehicle? Okay. Do you have a photo or anything like that of your driver's license?
Yeah.
All right, got you. All right. So, do you mind stepping out and we're going to talk right here real quick, back here?
About what?
You need to step out of the vehicle.
Step out for what?
There's a firearm in this vehicle. You're already speeding. You don't have anything on you. I'm separating you from the firearm.
Right.
All right. Are you going to get out of the car or not?
I don't tell me why.
I already told you what.
You didn't
Pennsylvania
tell me
versus Mims. Are you getting out or not? Supreme Court case law. Are you getting out or not?
I don't know what it is.
All right. You need to get out of the car.
You're not telling me
If you
why.
do not get out of the car, you'll be arrested for obstruction.
Okay, now the fact that he knew that Supreme Court is driving is pretty fascinating to me. But Attorney Carter, what in the hell is this? What makes him think that when he gets in trouble for breaking the law that he doesn't have to get out of the car? And why does he have the ability to talk mess like that to an officer who clearly is giving him, is being nice? Because we've seen it get uglier in traffic stops like this. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, that's why I was saying before you got mad, but that's some light skinned stuff there. All right. If you my color, I'd have been out the car before the cop came before we could stop the car. I'd have jumped out at about 35 miles an hour. All right. But anyway, Wesley Snipes would have to jump out at 65. All right. But he gonna sit in the car and try to act like the officer is ridiculous. The thing I found most interesting about this to me was the fact that King knows he got a gun and some oxycodone, right? Which is why he's up on felony charges now. In the car, he riding dirty, all right, and he riding fast and dirty.
Right.
If I had when I come back from CVS with some cough syrup, I'm going 5 miles under the speed limit. All right. If I know I got a bunch of stuff in the car, I'm doing exactly the speed limit. How you gonna do 30 miles over the speed limit? I don't know how you get to 70 miles an hour on a side street.
I don't understand. If I was a cop and I saw this kid, I'm sorry, with a gun, with paraphernalia, I mean, I wouldn't have been so patient with him in that outfit. Let's go to some of the comments. All right, Brenda K said all that hair is weighing down his tiny brain. Doreen Pierce says, "Hey, I'm real late tonight, but I'm here. Thank you so much from Maryland." Sandra McKee says, "King is just stupid as hell, period. Doesn't make any sense to me." Okay, let's go to you, Attorney Weiss. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, which in my opinion is him saying, "I don't feel safe." Do you think he was taught to say that? He was told to say that? Or where does he think that "I don't feel safe" is going to save him?
So he's going to think that "I don't feel safe" is his excuse to not get out of the car, right? So "I don't feel safe" is not going to override a lawful order, right? The officer says you need to get out of the car. There is case law, like the officer said, Supreme Court case law that says that if an officer instructs you to get out of the car, you get out of the car. So your personal discomfort or your personal quote unquote fear is not going to create a legal exception. Now, if he pulled him over in the middle lane of I-95 and said, "Get out of the car because I want you out," he has a legitimate safety concern. If he pulled over the car and it was in the middle of the night and it was in a swamp, he has a safety concern. But to say I have a safety concern because he was lawfully pulled over, he was doing something illegal, and he was asked to step out of the car, the answer to that is no, I don't think so. And look, he had no right to refuse to get out of the car. There was no reason for it. The courts hold officer safety will outrank the need for that.
All right, let's go to you, Attorney. Now, I know you are like a helicopter mom. You make sure your babies are taken care of, and you got 3. What is this whole thing with T.I. coming up and asking for an alternative to discipline his child for doing illegal activity? Can you explain to me why? I would think that should be obstruction as far as I'm concerned. But what's the thought process here? And why do celebrities feel like especially in this example, that they are above the law, especially when their son is basically the problem.
I don't know that this is a celebrity exclusive issue. It's feral. It's human instinct to want to protect your young. So, under these circumstances, T.I. received a call. His son was in the car, and his son was being arrested by the police. So, if you are a parent, and I know Attorney Weiss and Attorney Carter would feel the same way, whether they admit it or not, and you have the option of your child avoiding arrest and having some other sort of intervention, like you get to take them to, a psychiatrist or a therapist for review, you would pick that option each and every time. So I don't criticize T.I. for asking the question like, hey, can we handle this another way? Because depending on the officer, there might have been another way.
I just honestly, I hear what you're saying to me, but I feel like with this type of child, if you constantly are taking up for their bad behavior, you're creating more bad behavior because you're creating a safe space for them to not take accountability and responsibility, but then again, know that my daddy, who's the king of Atlanta, is going to get me out of it. I don't like it. And as a parent, for me, I personally would want to see my child comply with an officer because I see them get killed all the time for not.
But you don't want to see
another question. One second, Attorney Rice. You're raising a different thing about whether or not that's in the overall best interest. I was asking why T.I. tried to do it. Now, right. The other thing is going to the point of the kid not getting out of the car. You have to remember there are worse things than getting arrested. So if your child, and it's hard to give this advice broadly, but if for some reason, like the cop was really aggressive and they thought they were going to get hurt, like maybe you do say you get arrested and don't get out of the car and wait until someone else comes as a backup officer. Under these circumstances, that didn't seem to be warranted because it was recorded, but this is a gray space and the kid was, out there alone. The kid also seemed like, I don't know, so I don't want to engage in defamation, but the slow measured speech suggested that perhaps he was impaired.
Okay. I guess so. All right. So
no, and Al, let me tell you.
Let me stir the room. Let me shake the table here a little bit. Yeah. Hey, listeners, drop down in the chat. This is one time that I don't feel that the officer was not doing his job and being aggressive. This man gave him every chance to comply. And I thought that it was his nasty, privileged attitude, which would make me not want to offer him any type of leadway. I feel like that officer was beyond nice to him. He stated a daggone Supreme Court case. He begged the boy to get out. His nasty attitude, in my opinion, would have forced me to get physical. I would have gotten ugly at that point because it's those.
You're not a cop.
I know I'm not a cop, but I'm saying if that cop had gotten aggressive or more aggressive, I wouldn't have been upset. I wouldn't have been upset as a person.
And I get that. I feel that too. But here's the thing I think is really, really important. I think all cops should watch that video. All right, because that is exactly what we want from our police officers. Right. I understand the idea is that he didn't obey my lawful order. Guess what? Everyone you deal with as a cop is a fool. People like me don't drive 70 miles an hour in a 40-mile-an-hour zone. Right. I have not been pulled over in 30 years, all right, because I actually am a reasonable person. So understand when you take that job as a cop, you're going to deal with most people who don't follow the rules. That's why we have you. And when you deal with people, don't expect that they're going to know your Supreme Court cases. Comply with you. They're going to be unreasonable. And to the extent you have the patience like this guy had, now nobody got hurt. Nobody had to go to, no one had to go to the hospital or worse.
Right.
The cops have to understand that you're going to deal with people who don't pay attention. That's why we have you. It's like being a customer service person and mad at people complaining. Your job is to deal with the fools. That's why we hire you.
Let me inject here for 1 second, because this is the deal for me, right? He also had a gun and he put it on the dashboard. Dude, you and your privilege and how you're talking and not complying is setting a case where it could get ugly. And that's the thing that upsets me the most. And so for me, I would think if it was me and that was my son in that situation, and I walk up and a cop is like over my child, I have my eyes on my child, I have my eyes on the cop, I would say, yo, you need to get your ass out the car. Period. You hear the cop talking to you, you need to comply with what he's saying, because I already know you come with some mess. You're my son. I've seen you do this 100 times over. Get your ass out the car. Do what he says before this is ugly. That's how I, as a parent, would have handled. I wouldn't have come up and said, "Oh, can we handle this a different way?" No, get your ass out. Like,
well, by the time T.I. got there, he was already handcuffed and out. Otherwise, he wouldn't ask him to deal with it a different way, right?
Okay, that makes sense. All right, let's read some of these comments because Al got me hot in here. I'm all right. Brenda K says that he's no longer a child. He knew better. To me, he was just being ignorant. I agree, and that's the type that I feel like is what puts cops in the mindset when they see kids that look like us, that they are annoyed and they get aggressive and escalated faster because of those types of attitudes. All right, Nisha Phillips says, sometimes these cops are overly aggressive to black guys, so he probably was scared to get out the car, but he shouldn't have been more respectful. He wasn't scared. That boy felt like he was privileged. Chaos Scott, I agree with you. King was begging to get tased. If he got tased, I got to be honest, I don't know. I couldn't. I just don't know what the argument would have been. You have a gun. The cops pull over these people. I don't know. I just feel like that attitude was not the right attitude to have when you know you did something wrong. All right, I guess I done worked the heck out of that.
Laws, right? They're concealed carry laws. If you had a legitimate registered gun, you would want to put it on the dashboard so the cop didn't find it. And the other thing is, I actually had a different response to the video because he wasn't belligerent. He wasn't getting out of the car, but it wasn't like he was yelling and F you and F that, right? And so I think that's also part of why the cop was so measured. So I think the lesson for the A-listers is if you're going to question a police officer, then you do it in a calm way as opposed
to... Attorney Turner, I gotta... I'm gonna put you in contempt of court tonight because you're gonna get on my nerves tonight. Let me tell you something. His attitude was stank. How he responded was stank. How he responded could have led to something ugly if the cop was not nice. That's what I'm getting at. But anyway, let's go to the news segment of the show where we go to contempt of court. My contempt of court in this case goes to arguing with Bodycam like the footage is going to get sympathy when it's not. Just like he showed earlier today, he was like, "Oh, I was right. Somebody in there, somebody outside his house was trying to prove to him that the cop was wrong." No, I don't think the cop was wrong. The camera catches the tone. I didn't like the timing, the delay. I didn't like his delay. I didn't like his resistance. The officer was calm. The officer was professional. The officer did everything that I think an officer is supposed to do on that type of pullover. So let's go to the A-listers. A-listers, do you think King was guilty or not guilty for being an ass when he was pulled over? Drop down in the chat. I need to know. Do you think King was guilty or not guilty for being an ass when he was pulled over and asked to step out the car? Was his energy toxic? Drop down in the chat. I need to know that. All right. From Bodycam, before we get started, can you please do me a favor before we go into our third topic or case of the night? Can you please hit that like button if you're watching? If you don't mind, can you also hit that subscribe button? If you're already subscribed, be sure to hit the share button and invite some folks over to understand the law off the backs of these crazy, when I say crazy, celebrities. As always, turn on your notifications and jump down in the chat. And last but not least, please do me a favor. We got to 100, everybody. Celebrity Court of Public Opinion, the IG page is up, and we've got over 100 followers now. So let's aim for 150. Come on, everybody. Go over to @Celebrity Court of Public Opinion. Hit that follow button and drop down in one of those chats so that we can get to 150 before the end of next week. I really would appreciate it. And thanks everybody who is following me right now. All right. From Bodycam and police procedures to family court. Not only is it family court, but its custody is involved. And the kind of ruling that says a judge has officially run out of patience, and he don't care what show you're on. All right, this one is an entire mess. Now, everybody get your prayer cloths ready because we're heading to family court. This is where glamour, confessionals, and Bravo energy do not mean a damn thing. I don't care how much makeup you put on this pig. A pig is still a pig. Drew Sedor was reportedly ordered to vacate the marital home by May 31st. And guess what, y'all? Ralph Pittman reportedly received interim primary physical custody during the school year. Now, this is really messy. Now, let me translate that headline for the people that sit in the back of the class. A judge looked at this household and said the children need structure more than they need makeup and fake hair and filming of a television show. Because when a court starts moving adults out and reorganizing child routines before final orders are even entered, it's sending a message that's louder and clear. Even Ray Charles could see where this is leading. All right, the law here hinges on temporary orders are still real orders, and it also can show you what has been brought to case. The judge can restructure housing, which I didn't know, expenses, custody, and day-to-day parenting before the trial if the court feels immediate stability is necessary. All right, so Attorney Carter, I'm coming to you because this is crazy. So the court, I'm not going to say never. This is really strange to me because it looks like Drew is cool, right? You have a picture of the family? Let's see the picture of the kids. Bailiff. All right, look, they look like a cool family. Mm-hmm. So talk to me why a judge would be so aggressive. What did Drew do that the judge would be so aggressive to A, kick her out the house, and B, side with the kids, stand with the daddy?
Fair enough. Let me tell you what Drew did. She didn't get the kids at school. For the last 3 years, they've been going through this divorce. And the weird thing about it is he didn't move out and get a girlfriend, which is what I would have done. He'd been living in the basement of this big mansion for the last 3 years. She'd been living up top. And they've been living together and sort of, so they don't have to, move the kids around for weekend custody or whatever. And during that 3 years, she's not handling the business. Kids not getting to school. And so he goes in and says, look, I need to have primary custody because I will get them to school on time. And by the way, you might as well go ahead and give me the house too, because she can't afford this big old house. Apparently, she is the worst paid housewife in the history of Atlanta because her monthly income is $12,000, which is decent income, but not, housewife, of Atlanta TV income. Okay. And she's like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I can't make it on $12,000. Girl, you can make it on $12,000, but you can't make it. The kids can't make it when they all read at 3rd grade level, because you don't get them to school. You got to get the kids to school. And so the judge said, hey, let him get a chance to get the kids to school. And here's the problem she's going to have. If he can get them to school for the next 6 months or so, the judge is likely to say, well, you know what? He already in the house. He makes enough money to pay for this big house because he makes $71,000 a month versus her $12,000. We'll just let him keep the house and the kids. She'll get some paid out of the equity, but you're going to be in an apartment for a while, girlfriend.
All right, Jason, can you break down what physical custody versus legal custody is in the simplest way you possibly can? Can you share with us what that is?
So physical custody would mean that they live with him in the home, and that's where their primary residence is. Legal custody, the judge didn't touch that. They are both both parents are both the parents of the kids. They can both make decisions, and it's. They have to be in agreement, or they would need to get a court order. You take it to the doctor, you do this, you do that. They both have legal custody to do that, and the kids just live with dad for right now, meaning they're going to live there. And look, if they're in school and they got perfect attendance between now and the end of the school year, which is at the end of May or June, she ain't getting them back. And Attorney Carter's right. He's going to get the house, and she's going to get the boot.
Oh, wow. Okay, let's go to you, Attorney Turner. If you represented Drew, what would you be telling her she must do immediately if she wants to regain the leverage before the final orders?
Well, she needs to find a place to live because she's telling everyone she's homeless. And one thing that judges require if you're going to pursue custody of children is that you have a residence. So that's what she needs. I think
that's brilliant. I think that's brilliant advice. Don't run out here thinking that you can claim you'll be homeless and that's helping you. That's only harming your case, because if you want your children, you need to show that you have a safe, secure place for them to be. Oh, this is good, Attorney Turner. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know somebody who insists that he doesn't have a home to take his children to, which is why he doesn't have shared custody. And, I'm not sure who they think is going to be persuaded by that argument, because it doesn't lend itself to being in the best interest of the children to render them homeless as part of whatever the judge's decision is going to make. But I think Drew should also do another thing. And I'm not sure what her lawyer argued, but here's my thing. I call BS on Ralph's argument that she was responsible for the kids not going to school when he was living in the household. He was living in the basement. He wasn't living in a guest house, right? Why weren't they having shared responsibilities so that he could have driven them to school? Say she was sleeping in and she didn't wake and she woke up late. He wasn't blameless and without responsibility. So I think Ralph set her up somewhat. I also think that
boo, boo, boo. Order in the court. You don't think the judge didn't hear arguments from both sides of why?
And let's be clear, legally responsible. He could not take those kids and pull them out if she didn't want him to. She had primary legal custody. All right, meaning that he was only able to do what she allowed him to do on the days in which she had them. So it's not even like he could call the police and said he kidnapped the kids.
Yeah, but I still think that,
go watch the movie Mrs. Doubtfire. It explains all of this perfectly. All right, let's go to the next one.
No, but
let's go to the next one. I'm ready, Your Honor. Let's go.
But the other thing is that and you asked me about Drew, but if I were Ralph, I actually would have fought for primary legal and primary physical custody, because primary physical custody without primary legal custody is a hassle. That means that there's so many things that you have to consult the other parents about, and they'll be resistant to it because, she didn't want this outcome. And so I think he's going to find that this is actually more difficult than he anticipated. So to Attorney Carter's point, he can't just take them to the doctor and get them vaccinations. Gotcha. If something happens, it's going to be real.
We only have 3 minutes left. We got to move on, everybody. Sorry, I apologize. Joy Bennett, we got to move on for this. No, thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the super chat. Joy Bennett, thank you so much for joining us tonight, and thank you for the super chat. All right, everybody, we got to keep going. I did too much tonight, breaking down too much. All right, let's keep going, lawyers. Hopefully, Drew Sedor will get it together. All right, now we're going to end with a story that may be the least famous on the docket, but could start the biggest argument in these comments. Let's talk Coach Stormy. For those who don't know, the last case of the night is Coach Stormy, who I know very well. An older interview has surfaced around claims that 80% of the clients made $0, and now the internet is doing what it does best, conducting a public audit with absolutely no chill. Now, I believe in ambition, I believe in selling confidence, and I definitely believe in motivation. But when your business is built on transformation, success, results, breakthroughs, and receipts, baby, the second people don't see or do what you say it's going to do, then they deserve to question you. And you said you were going to make 1,000 families millionaires, and you made $0. Where is the accountability here? All right, Attorney Carter, what are your thoughts here on what the judge has decided in doing a legal probe and forcing her to change her language?
This is fascinating. This is, to me, maybe the most fascinating case we have, because the Federal Trade Commission got involved in this case. And here's the thing about it. They basically said, you're running a pyramid scheme. And that's how MLMs work. We all know that. I don't know if you grew up in the 70s and 80s. At one point, your parents had a garage full of Amway that they couldn't sell to nobody. All right. We all did this, and you just lost your money. And about a couple of years ago, the FTC said, we're not going to just start suing Amway and Herbalife. We're going to start suing top influencers because they're the ones who are the new people who can drag these people in here. And she has 1.6 million Instagram followers. She was bringing in lots of people. I think there were tens of thousands of people she brought in, all the promises they were going to get their Rolls Royce too. And so basically the FTC said, look, you don't have to quit. Well, you can keep your stuff. But here's the thing is, from now on, you can't tell people they're going to get rich. You got to let them know that about 90% of you are going to lose all your money. And
okay.
And basically said, by the way, and don't pose anymore in front of your Rolls unless you have a disclaimer that says you're not getting one, girl. You still going to drive that Toyota, right? And so basically they kind of taking the legs out from that in this, because who's going to do the MLM if you don't at least get tricked into thinking you're going to get rich?
All right, this is true. All right, Bailiff, take it away. Let's see what Stormy, Coach Stormy has to say.
So that's why I don't really allow too many black women to have just any kind of proximity to me.
Do you feel like there's this kind of underlying notion that there's only room for one black girl at the table, especially in corporate?
I do believe that is what it looks like. So it's funny because I have made up in my mind that I'm gonna be that one black girl at the tables. Black women, we could be real mean, real nasty to each other, judgmental to each other, not supportive of each other. How many successful tables have you seen in real life, for real? 4 and 5 and 6 black women at the table. It just doesn't seem to work. So it's like, let me bring one of y'all who got a lot of opinion and a lot of understanding about the culture. Let me bring one, because if I bring 3 or 4 of y'all, it's gonna be too much cattiness. I'm a
All right, Jason, let's go to you really quickly, because I have to admit, I befriended Coach Stormy. I was brought on through Nene Leakes and Cynthia Bailey. We all went to, a particular event or a host event of hers. We all got on the correct line or the feed line, however it was supposed to be. And we're selling. I got to be honest. I never saw one penny. So I'm going to you, Jason, because I want to know if buyers feel misled, what usually happens first in real life? What was I supposed to do in that instance when I was selling? Was I to do a refund, a chargeback, a lawsuit, or just saying like Coach Carter, Attorney Carter said, you just like, okay, I'm just going to eat it and stop doing it. What is the alternative?
Look, you can make a demand. You could say that, you suckered me in. I wasn't supposed to do this. I want a refund. But one of the things that you should be doing is saying that, look, stop. I'm going to stop selling. I want to give everybody their money back. I want to avoid problems for everybody. Let's just go ahead. Let's make everybody whole and let's move away. And that would be the strategy to do it. And when the resistance is, no, I don't think so, well, then you got to go the legal route. And, and whistleblowing is something that, could possibly be done here.
Okay, let me ask you, Attorney Turner, if somebody publicly says that 80%, because this is documents, this is the probe showed that publicly 80% of her clients made $0. That's $0. This seems to me like it's fraud. This seems to me like it's all types of stuff. What documents would actually prove or disprove the claim? How can she say she's not frauding people when she's saying she's making thousands of people millionaires, but 80% aren't making anything? In fact, they said the 20% that were making something, 90% of that was less than $7,000. What the hell?
Based on the comments that she just made, she's not somebody who appears to be a high integrity person, because she made these wild comments about how many black women could be at the table and all this stuff about black women not supporting one another. And I don't support that narrative at all. So I'm a little bit sick of her. I know there's a particular story that Attorney Weiss is tired of hearing about it. I'm tired of seeing her face, because the reason there aren't more black women around the table is because we're not invited. It's not because we're catty and tearing each other down. And people might be trying to tear her down because she's stealing from them. Allegedly, right? So in terms of the evidence that you would need, you would have to show what was signed. You would have to show what she knew, what she understood, and that it was a whole pyramid scheme. I have one name for you, and she should be researching the hell out of this case. Bernie Madoff, right?
Right.
What she's being accused of. She needs to take herself with those wigs, sell them, and then do some research and figure out how to get out of trouble, because I just don't like her.
Get everybody their money back.
Hold on. We look at our time. All right, let's go to some of these comments real quick. SL Warrior says MLM. What is MLM? Somebody said, what is MLM? MLM is multi-level marketing. Nisha Phillips says, you're right, Shaitan. Sandra McGee says, I never heard of her. Let's see who else we got in here. Oh, why is this not moving? Attorney Carter said she was running a pyramid scheme. This is very, very interesting. Fuzzy Bigelow said that old school pyramid, nobody made money, shady. Somebody in the chat, I wanted to get to it. Okay, Fuzzy Bigelow says, done a lot of MLM, money in, not a lot of money out.
Yep.
I just don't, who makes money on those? I just can't figure out.
She did.
Where's she
made the money?
There you go. There you have it. All right, really quick. What were you saying, Attorney Weiss?
No, I was just going to go ahead and say that, you know, her one way out is give everybody back their money. Say, I made a mistake. I misled people. I apologize. That wasn't it. Results may vary from person to person. The system didn't work. Here's your money back, and everybody's made whole. This whole thing would go away.
All right, we're going to go to the new part of the show where it's called the contempt of court. My contempt of court in this case goes to every business model selling penthouse promises with basement disclosures. All right. Do not sell me millionaire energy if the average outcome is fraud. All right. And then on top of that, not taking responsibility or accountability. Bailiff, let's hear what she had to say about getting caught by the feds.
When you're on the brink of greatness, the enemy will try to steal, kill, and destroy your confidence, your focus, and to try to distract you. But your responsibility is to stay focused at all costs. No matter what tries to come your way, when you know who you are and whose you are, you don't let little things throw you off your A game.
That right there is crazy to me. It's like she's doubling down on it. She's doubling down on it instead of taking responsibility for what it is. All right, A-listers, is she guilty or not guilty? Jump down in the chat and let me know what you guys think. Is she guilty or not guilty? If you say you're going to make people millionaires and you make nobody millionaires, what is that considered? A fraud to me. I just feel like that's just fraudulent. That's just fraudulent. I'm sorry. All right, drop down in the chat, everybody. Let me see what you're thinking right now. Is she guilty or she's not guilty? Melina NC said, girl, please. RQM says, stop the cap. Deliria Watson says she needs to go to jail. JP Mills says guilty. All right, everybody, this is where we go to the jury room, where we go to you to decide who's guilty or not guilty in the court of public opinion. All right, are you ready? Are you ready? Get ready, get ready. Don't forget, we need 3 guilties or 3 not guilties for the case to be found guilty or not guilty. First up, Kanye West. Kanye West, is Kanye guilty or not guilty of allegedly turning one ugly incident into a bigger legal disaster? Is Kanye West guilty or not guilty? Jump down in the chat, everybody. Joy Burnett says guilty all the way. Fuzzy Bigelow. Oh, no. Sounds like she's reading from chat. Regina says guilty AF. Brenda K says guilty. Kanye, sorry, buddy. You may be a smart entertainer, but you are guilty. Guilty tonight in celebrity court. All right, next up, King Harris. King Harris, is he guilty or not guilty of making a lawful traffic stop worse by resisting the moment? All right, drop down in the chat. Is he guilty or not guilty of making a lawful traffic stop worse by resisting the moment? All right, SL Warrior says guilty. Christine R says guilty of looking like he has walnuts in his cheek. Deja Phillips says guilty. All right, King Harris with the walnuts in your cheek. You have been found guilty. Guilty is charged in celebrity court. Next up, Drew Sidor. Is Drew Sidor guilty of not guilty of letting the household get so unstable that a judge had to impose structure? This is just crazy to me. So is Drew Sidor guilty or not guilty for letting the household get unstable? Drop down in the chat. Pisces Unicorn says, oh, no. Sandra McGee says guilty. Brenda K says guilty. Little bit of sugar 520 says guilty. Drew Sidor, report you have been found guilty. Guilty in the court of public opinion. And last but not least, Coach Stormy, is she guilty or not guilty of selling dreams that came with $0? Is Coach Stormy guilty or not guilty of selling dreams that came with $0? Joy Burnett says guilty. Shame on her. RQM says they are both guilty. Lady Aries says guilty. All right, Stormy, guess what, Coach Stormy? You have been found guilty. Guilty as charged. All right, I do want to know, though, I'm about to be a little bit messy. Everybody jump down in the chat and tell me which legal case was the messiest. Which legal case was the messiest? Was it Stormy? Was it Drew Sidor? Was it King Harris? Or was it Kanye West? Drop down in the chat real quick. Which legal case was the messiest? While you're doing that, tonight's lesson is simple. Lawsuits do not care how famous you are. Body cams do not care who your daddy is. Family court don't care how many times you've been on TV. And business credibility does not survive unless you got some receipts. Fame gets attention. It does not always get grace. It does not always get privacy, and it definitely does not always get the benefit of what we call the doubt. I'm your Judge Al Reynolds, and this is Celebrity Court of Public Opinion. Be sure to hit that like button. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. As always, turn on your notifications. And don't forget to follow us at Celebrity Court of Public Opinion. Until the next case hits the docket, everybody have a good night and an incredible weekend. Thank you so much for joining us. Court is now adjourned.